Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment here with my co host Manny for the Geek Saga Show series, The Media That Made Us. This series focuses on media that the two of us consumed in our younger or maybe even just slightly younger years, media that helped shape our current interests and that we still love.
So I'm Manny, and for our 10th Media That Made Us episode, we're continuing our coverage of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series and discussing the Memento Mori arc, which includes season 4, episode 1 through 10.
Before we get started, just a heads up that you can follow me and therefore all of the Geek Saga endeavors at a Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube.
And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Menissimo Art. I also have a Blue Sky one, but you're just going to have to find it. Because I don't remember what it is. If you love me, you'll find it.
It's probably
Okay?
Benissimo art too. Let's be real.
It probably is. It's Menissimo or Menissimo Art. It's one of them. So I just can't remember which one that it was.
Well, just a couple other house cleaning items before we dig in. If you're watching this as a webcast on Facebook or YouTube, pretty please make sure to hit those like and or subscribe buttons. And if you're catching the audio only version on your on your favorite podcatcher, we could really use some more ratings, especially on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and would super very much greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to mark the Geek Saga podcast 5 stars wherever you're listening. Last but hopefully not least, we hope that you'll check out the Geek Saga Entertainment Patreon. We have a lot of tiers with just $3 per month, getting you the most prevalent perk of early access to podcast episodes. Check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
Our format for this Media That Made Us series includes our top 5 moments that made it. Basically, our hot takes from the portion of the series that we're covering, followed by any insights we've uncovered from rewatches and or being longtime fans. So to kick off this arc's top 5, we begin with, drumroll please, the restraining bolts and short-circuiting the Centurion's decision-making capabilities. Yeah, okay, so like not the best quote co-opt ever, but in this episode, 6 of 1, Natalie 6 does remove the Centurion's restraining bolts, inhibitors, I mean, and in doing so, accidentally kicks off a Cylon civil war. So I was kind of surprised personally that when that came off, that it just wasn't like they didn't just whack all of them, because it's like, let's
Yeah.
face facts, it's not like the person who liberates you is not necessarily your friend.
Yeah.
So in the sense of self-preservation, if I was a slave in that fashion and somebody did, I probably would have just whacked all of them and just been like, but look, maybe they needed them to like drive the base star, right? Maybe they don't know how to drive and they're like, well, we need someone else to do it. So maybe that's what they're doing. I don't know. But there was a scene there when when Six gives one of the Centurions an order, and the thing is just
Yeah.
sitting there staring at her, and she's like, "Please." I was like, "Look, what I would have loved." Okay, there's a few things to kind of unpack here for me. I would have loved for it to actually respond to it, like in that old Cylon voice from the original series, and just be
Mm.
like, "That's what I thought," like, like something like that.
Yeah, but that would have been just for laughs or like pure
Yeah,
kind of nostalgia.
I know me, but you know me, I make jokes in the darkest of times. So, but it would have been nice to kind of like see them like get a voice or something, because they don't really have any type of real communication. There's no way to like really like connect with them. And
Yeah.
I love robots, so it would have been nice to like for them to like have a voice, maybe even have some kind of personality or something, just some sense of like individuality that would have made you more affectionate to the fact that they were slaves, right? Because if they're just robots and they're like slaves, it's like, well, okay, like, there's like a disconnect there. But I think if it would have given them like some type of personality or something, I think it would have made it more like poignant and more heavy, you know? But, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like something maybe where not talking necessarily, but and I guess this would you would have thought that they would have had this all along though, that removing the inhibitors or whatever the BSG term for restraining bolts is. I'm sorry, but that's what they are. They're restraining bolts. Like they would have had like some sort of communication thing before, you would think, but even just different, pitches and tones to their whoomp whoomp
Yeah.
sounds, if they're asking
Mhm.
a question, it goes up like it does when anybody asks a question.
Yeah.
Mm. But again, I mean, I don't know, also, I listen to these awful, like, reels and TikTok videos where they've got the voiceover thing you can add when you put text in there, and I hate it so much because they're all just monotone, and I also, like, hate the voice. I don't know. This is supposed to be so, a universe that is both so more far advanced than ours, but also, like, way behind ours in a lot of ways that, having them talk, but yeah, I think it would have been neat
I
to
know.
see a change in tone, I guess, with their computer sounds.
Yeah.
Now like, apparently they were gonna do this whole thing where I think, like, way more Centurions were in way more scenes and doing things
Mhm.
like learning to copy the humanoid Cylons' behaviors, like, uh, I can never the really obnoxious dude that's always, the one that was, like, the fake priest on on Caprica and stuff, like, I can never remember his
Oh,
name
yeah.
or even his number.
Cavill.
Is he Cavill? Yeah.
Mhm.
There was supposed to be a scene where he's like tapping the table or whatever to accentuate what he's saying, and the Centurion is,
Mhm.
behind him or across the room is tapping
Mhm.
Chew, which I think would have been a really neat thing to explore, but also they already knew obviously that this was last season and they were pressed for time in a lot of ways. So I get
Yeah.
why it was left out. And I think the times that they do cut to the Centurions, after they've had their inhibitors removed and
Mhm.
it's odd, like, maybe it's just me, but it's almost like even though they aren't talking and there's no change in the sounds that they're making, you can almost somehow sense that there is more there or I don't know.
Yeah, no, I
Maybe I'm
get
just
that, I get
looking
that.
for it.
No,
Um,
look, I mean, in my brain, okay, here's how the scene takes place, okay? Centurion's bolt comes off, right? Boom. And the Centurion goes, like you said, with that Instagram AI voice and saying, like, wow, the Centurions are going to kill everyone in here for 5 reasons. Number 5 will blow your mind away, and then just starts wasting people. I mean, if it was a comedy show, that's how I would have played it out.
it's like the two of the worst things to come from the past 15 years, a BuzzFeed listicle with a fucking Reels or TikTok AI voice.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I hate everything. Yeah.
I mean, and also this is one of those things where, um, quite often in our episodes here, we have a top 5 moment that isn't just a top 5 because of the thing that happens right when it happens, but because it is a waterfall or a snowball or whatever you wanna call it of, things that happen because this thing happened, right? And the Natalie 6, I mean, it wasn't just her, but she's the one who announces it. So the Natalie 6 removing their inhibitors and announcing she's
Mhm.
removed their inhibitors, this whole them not having the inhibitors leads to this directly to the Cylon Civil War. Would it have happened anyway? Very possibly. But the rebellion side, Cylons having the
Mhm.
Centurions on their side is a huge, huge plus.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I I really think from that point on, there's really no way that the, ones who want things to stay as they
Mhm.
are going to succeed. There might be, I don't know, a lesson in this, that could be used in other, ways of fighting back rebellions, stuff. I
Yes.
don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
not.
Maybe. You might be onto something.
But yeah, so they're in full civil war mode now, and literally the whole rest of the season wouldn't have happened if it weren't for that, and if it weren't for the fact that having the Centurions on their side gives them such an upper hand, that they're
Mhm.
able to connect with the fleet and
Yeah.
whatnot. So,
True. True.
all right, next up in our top moments, Let's be honest, it was her or them. Because we all know that if Callie hadn't died in the episode titled The Ties That Bind, she would have had she would have had to be silenced in some other way, or she was going to reveal Chief Ty Anders and Tori's true natures to, I don't know, well, probably anyone who would have listened.
Yep. Yep.
So I got to be honest, I wasn't all that sad to lose Callie, which I'll say more about in a minute. But I don't know, this death did not
Yeah.
hit me.
No, I mean, it hit me when I first watched it because I didn't know anything about the other stuff, but um I always liked Callie, like she easily would have been like, the girl that I chased after if I was in BSG land, like that's probably what I just I don't know, I liked her. But look, yeah, it would have been Callie or them for sure. But I think the chief probably would have, been able to like keep her quiet, like I think he's pretty good with her, she obviously like likes him, so I think that she could have, if he would have explained it to her or something like that, I think that they didn't have to resort to that. But nope, nope, here comes Tori. Tori's just gonna just throw her out the airlock, like. And but I think the biggest gut punch, like she grabs her kid, sitting there with her kid, and then just watching, turning the key to throw her out the airlock. Like, dude, like if you're gonna commit, cold hard murder, at least put the child down. Like at least put the child in a chair or something, and then throw the mom out of the airlock. But I feel like ever since Tori figured out, what she is, she's just been like on this weird power trip, as opposed to everyone else who seems a little more scared and humble about it. You know,
Yeah.
she's just like, oh, I'm just gonna do bad things. And that's it.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that later, but I mean, I'll be honest. I do for once actually disagree with you a bit here. I don't know that Tyrell ever could have. Okay, maybe eventually somehow he could have convinced
Hmm.
Callie, but let's be real. She comes back to their quarters to see, and he's, or I can't remember if she comes back and he's already there, or she's already there and he comes back, but whatever. The next time they're in their quarters together after she finds out he's a Cylon, she beats him over the head with a giant wrench or something. Like,
Yeah.
she doesn't give him a chance to explain himself. She immediately beats him unconscious and then runs off with their kid and almost, you
Yeah,
know,
that's a good point. That's a good point. I think the reason I came to that conclusion was when Boltar killed Crashdown,
mm,
and she kept her mouth shut about it. She didn't even like fucking Boltar, she was willing to
yeah.
keep her mouth shut about that. But you're right. I think that scene kind of escaped me when I was putting my notes down. But no, you're right. She just
Well, I
but
think
the
too, let's be real, Baltar, as much as Callie doesn't like him, is still human. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. But
I mean,
also, like when Callie ran away, she could have ran straight to the Admiral,
mm,
but she didn't. She just ran somewhere completely different, So I don't know. Maybe she went somewhere to think for a minute before she like made that call. But I feel like if she was really gung ho about I'm going to rat this person out, that she would have just went straight to the Admiral or the security guard up the hall, and just said, "Hey, that dude is a Cylon. Him and his
yeah.
friends, these are the people." But she didn't do that. She just ran. So I don't
I
know.
mean, honestly, she might have been worried, you know, for herself that they would immediately assume she was a collaborator, even if she's tattling. Um, she was very possibly worried for Nikki because
Hmm.
uh, he's only the second ever
Yeah.
human Cylon baby at this
Yep.
point.
Yep.
Which nobody ever talks about. That was
Nope.
something you like brought up before we went live, and I was going to talk about it anyway, but it is absolutely, even though this is about Callie's death and I have more to say about that, it is absolutely insane to me that obviously at this point nobody knows Nikki is nobody that's not Deanna, who is put away in a pod, knows that Nikki is the only second ever Cylon
Hmm.
human baby. But even after this, we'll have to see, but I honestly do not
Yeah.
remember there ever being any sort of big hullabaloo about the fact that this is that Nikki exists too. It's all about
Mhm.
Hera. And of course
Yep.
she was the first and she's the one everybody's had prophecies and dreams and shit about, but Nikki should also be consequential in this case, let's be real. So,
Yeah, for real, you know?
um now all of that said, like since we're talking about Callie's death, I both like do and do not want to talk about this, but I think I have to. Chief's freak out in the next episode is I think it's escape velocity is the name of the episode. It's a lot. It's a fucking lot. Like the whole how many of us settled because the person we really wanted died, and I think he kind of pauses. He doesn't say it, but he's thinking of Boomer being a Cylon, like he
Mhm.
settled for Callie because he lost, Boomer because she was a Cylon. Um which I mean, that'll give anybody a complex because like tell me you've never been with somebody who you like looked at your relationship and remembered the things they told you about a person they'd been with before and thought they settled for me. Because I
Yeah.
sure as hell have. Like it's been a long time, but absolutely like one of my high school boyfriends, and at least one other person after that. Like eh, so that like it cuts a little too close to home to hear Chief say that. And I get it. Like yeah. I mean, I get it in a way, and I'll say a little bit more of that in a second, but, um, then he just like, wow, 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 wow. He doesn't stop there, right? He calls Callie a shriek with dull, vacant eyes and a boiled cabbage stench, and even as someone who doesn't really like Callie as a character, uh, wow, Chief, like
Yeah,
just
that was
like,
bad.
I know he's going through a lot, but for fuck's sake, she was his wife and the mother of his child, and she just died. I
It wasn't like she did him wrong, right? Like, I've people have broken up with me who I really loved or something like that, and I would say terrible things like that, not to anyone else, but I would say terrible things like that, right? Because it was like part of the grieving process. I
Yeah,
had to find
you had
any
to convince
flaw.
yourself, yeah.
Exactly, that it was for the better, even though it wasn't, and I really didn't mean those things. But in this instance, I'm like, bro, it's not like she left you and decided to go date one of those humans. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's come on, dude. Like that is the grieving. I understand that people grieve in a very special way, but that was a bit much.
It was a lot, and apparently the writer for this episode did wanna make the point of how in this situation, people for sure had way more limited choices as to who they could end up with if they ended up with anyone, but she also wanted to show that Chief was feeling really guilty and also grief-stricken, and that he was egging Adama on because he wanted like, he was being as nasty as he was because he wanted that smackdown that he eventually
Mhm.
got from Adama, and you can see that too, where you can see that he is egging Adama on purpose,
Yeah.
but, man, that's a lot, like I mean, first of all, hygiene is not can't be all that great in a lot considering like weren't they bartering for the last tube of toothpaste at some point? You can't bitch
Yeah.
about somebody's smell. You probably stink too, chief.
Exactly.
Um
Exactly.
and but and a shriek, okay, like what are you saying? Like she has a high pitched voice, like she's a nag. I because
Yeah.
honestly, Callie, like listen, I'm not gonna go so far as to say justice for Callie because I never really liked Callie, but this was a really fucking hard scene to watch. And in this sense, in the things that Chief was saying about her, even though I understand what the writer was trying to do, I still like Callie did deserve better than that. Like, complain about things that aren't I don't know, the shriek thing is so specific to just women. Like, it just feels
Mhm.
very that particular thing feels very misogynistic. The stench thing, like I said, dude, you probably fucking stink too.
Mhm.
And then what was the other thing that he said? Oh, her dull, vacant eyes.
All vacant
Fuck off. Like,
eyes.
at the very least, Callie was an intelligent person. And I've seen some
Mhm.
people not all that long ago, actually. I've seen some people who've had some dull fucking vacant eyes. And
Yeah.
as much as I don't like Callie, like Maybe I don't like her personality, but at least she had one.
Well, what does that mean, like shriek? Like I've never heard that term before used, like honestly, as a woman. So I mean, like for a woman. So I don't know because you had
I
mentioned that.
I've never heard it either, honestly, and I didn't think to like look it up. I just assumed it meant that she was a nag
Mm,
what I how I
mm.
perceived it. A man complaining that his femme significant other is a nag. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
no, it's
yeah.
true. I mean, I go ahead, go ahead.
No, I got it.
Oh, you're done. Okay. Yeah, no. No, I definitely feel you on that one. Like not that I can completely like relate. I certainly deal with things in a very weird way. I think now it's more just dark humor as opposed to what it was back in the day, but like I understand like, going through things how your brain tries to like work stuff out. But and I get that like he was just saying, like I said, earlier, like I think he was just probably just saying those things just so he can justify what had happened and that she's not going to be here, here for him anymore. But like he really should have gone a little easier. I mean, Kelly had to deal a lot when it comes to the chief. A lot. He literally beat her up and like they sewed her mouth shut or her jaw, they wired her jaw shut because he broke her jaw, which again was never really spoken about after the fact, and he kind of got away with that. And it's like because obviously she didn't press charges, but this is kind of fucked up. It's like, dude, the least you could have done was just not say something terrible. Like you did beat the shit out of her, like
I mean, let's be real, they never should have been together, and not just because of that.
no.
I mean, even beyond the idea of maybe Chief was settling, I it also feels weird because she was his, employee, essentially. He was her boss. So
Yeah.
there's also that power dynamic there. I know that it was consensual, um, and that they're all about propagating the human race, so they're not about to be
Hmm.
like, "Oh, sorry, you guys can't." Well, and also I think they were on New Caprica anyway by the time they were, like, married and had a kid, but,
Hmm.
yeah, it's I don't know. There's a lot of ugh going on,
Yeah, there's a lot
and
of ick with
it
that.
it did, it's not it he did not handle the aftermath of her death very well at all, and
At all.
that is, like, the kindest fucking way I can put it.
Yeah,
He lost a lot of points. He lost a lot of points with me,
he
from
did.
that scene. Yeah,
He'll
yeah.
gain him back later, but for right now, yeah, he lost a lot of points. Um, yeah, man, and it was weird. And then the admiral coming to like kind of talk to him. I mean, the admiral's clearly just trying to get a read off of him, I think, just to kind of see. But he comes and he sits down, and like has a drink. Like, I mean, God bless Edward James Olmos, man. He's like he does such a good job on looking and acting so unapproachable that when he finally approaches you to like have a drink, like I would have no choice but to just start crying, because I'm like, oh my god, thank you for having a drink with me. My life sucks. My wife got thrown out of an airlock, you know. But like, but you're right. He was doing that because he wanted that like SmackDown. So I mean, it makes sense. But I don't think even if I wanted the SmackDown, I don't think I could have gone that route.
No, not with
Yeah.
Adama, absolutely not.
Mm-mm. Like, just fucking chill, bro, I don't know, man.
Alright.
Alright, moving on. Talk about a domino effect at the end of Guess What's Coming to Dinner. As a frightened and angry Athena kills Natalie Six just when Rosalind is insisting the base star hybrid be plugged back in, causing the hybrid to jump the ship away from the colonial fleet.
Yeah, seriously, timing was no one's strong suit at the end of that episode.
Nope.
Um, and this is another one of those sort of like snowball effect things.
Mhm.
Athena finds all those drawings that Hera has been making of her, holding the Six's hand and stuff. And it's also the like bright blonde Six, but maybe those are the only crayons uh Hera had. She only had the bright yellow. So it's like Caprica
Yeah.
Six hair and not Natalie Six, but and then she's not in the quarters because she's a kid and wasn't
Mhm.
apparently being watched somehow, and she's wandered off, and um and by the time Athena catches up with Hera, she's just there with Natalie Six. And obviously, there's nothing untoward happening here. Natalie Six is not about to scoop this child up or anything like that. But Athena is just, I mean, after everything that's happened, right? And the things that the visions that she's had and the drawings and everything, all she can think is this person is trying to kidnap my child. And still the immediate murder, a little bit much there.
It's a bit much. Yeah.
Like there's Natalie Six is an unarmed person surrounded by armed members of the fleet. It's not gonna happen. And I'll be honest, like I have not given birth to a child, so maybe there's like that. There's like a, I don't have a thing in me that would react that way. I don't know for sure. Yeah, I would do anything to protect my stepchildren. I love them, but I don't like. I don't know. In this instance, there's just way too much showing that nothing could have happened. Nothing like what Athena is really worried about could have happened. And
well,
then
including the fact that there's like other sixes walking around also. So
right. I mean, but in this case, it's just
that one. But in the grand scheme of things,
yeah, and also in that exact instance, there's no way that six could just scoop Hera up and like what is this like? I don't know. She's not a witch. She can't just like spin in a circle and like poop herself and Hera over to the Cylon Base Star or something. But yeah, just the timing of it where Athena kills Natalie Six, and that's like right. I don't know if it's right before or right. I think it's like literally right before, but it could almost be like at the same time where Rosalind's like plug in the the hybrid, just plug it in, damn it. Like she's like really pushing it, plug it in. Baltar's like praise something and
praise
I think he says praise God and Rosalind's just like shut up, like, plug the fucking hybrid
shut up. Plug in the toaster, let's get this done, like
but it's, I mean, literally that hybrid is plugged in and not even a split second and she says jump and they're gone. And I just it's again like a whole snowball of things, but just such a fucking domino effect. And now even though Rosalind has been very ill and isn't in charge like she has been, it's still Rosalind and so many fucking like Rosalind, Baltar, nobody gives a shit about him except for his little cult people. Which I think you have some things you want to say about that later, but nobody gives a shit about him but his little cult people. But there's also a whole fucking ton of other Hilo is with them for some reason. And I know you have things to say about that because it's like they're losing a whole, it's not just Rosalind who is very important. They're losing a whole bunch of other people who are important to the existence, the survival of the fleet with this base star just being gone because Athena couldn't
keep it in her pants. Yep.
Keep her gun in her pants. Keep her gun in her
pants. Look, can I just do a little PSA here for a minute? So when you shoot someone at near point blank range, that bullet is going to fly right through that person. Okay. It doesn't stop inside the person or anything like that. Now, on top of that, they're inside this big metal ship. Okay. Like Athena, if you're going to like, if you're going to bust the cap into someone, like, at least, get her on the ground first or something, because whatever that guard is behind her is probably going to get shot. And if the bullet ricochets and maybe it's going to hit Hera, right? You literally, it's just going to bounce back and it's going to hit your kid, like, and Athena really comes off to me as a very responsible gun owner, so I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, that's just dangerous.
It's been a while. It has been a while, but this is not the first time there has been a shooting incident or gunfight in corridors in these ships where we're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And like, how is no one deaf?
Ship space.
Yeah. And
maybe their guns all have silencers or something. I mean,
have some like
They
built yeah.
like I said, they are in a lot of ways way more advanced than us, and I think their guns don't make as much noise actually when they shoot
No,
them.
they don't. But yeah,
They got
maybe
that
it's
little
just
they're built different. They've got that little, like,
the little
thing on the
thing
bottom that probably makes it quieter. I don't know. Dean would
quieter.
know more about this than I do, honestly, but,
I
uh,
would hope so. Yeah,
he's
I would
playing
hope so.
Helldivers, so I'm not gonna bother.
And guess what? He's not going to hear you. Do you know why? Because he all right, that's why he's not
Yeah,
going to hear
yeah.
you.
I'm just hoping we don't hear him because how many times have we been, like, recording and there's been screaming in the background?
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
anyway.
Oh man.
Love Dean, love him, love him, love him. Helldivers is
Uh,
maddening when you play it though, gotta be honest.
yeah.
But yeah, like, we've talked about this before where, like, why are you shooting guns in these corridors? This is nonsense. Stop.
Yeah, it's like terrible, you know. I mean, look, my point on this is that number one, I would never have boarded the actual base star to begin with. You know, there's no way. Like, I get that, you know, that the president and Bolt are going. Like, I get that part, you know. But why would you send so many Viper pilots there? You know, like you can send a few of them, but yeah, but why put like the entire cap in danger by sending all of them over there? What if the ship blows up? I mean, the ship was damaged. What if it's like warp core goes critical or whatever they have in there? And then you have okay, now you have all of your best pilots that are all dead now. So now what are you going to do? You know, I just think that that was like a bad tactical error. It was a good writing, but it was just bad tactical error.
Yeah, I mean, it makes no sense, for them to have that many like, absolutely, you wanna send, like, a guard contingent. Not
Mhm.
arguing with that, but you know
But
who
not
should have been
pilots.
there? You know who should have been there?
Who?
Hot
Hot
dog.
dog. Hot dog. Hot dog. He would have figured it out. He'd have been
He's
like,
not a
"Oh, hold on."
Cylon, so he could have been
No.
there.
He'd have been like, "Oh, well, I guess we got to fly this thing back now." Okay, you know, where's the steering wheel? I guess let's do this. You know. Oh man, justice for hot dog, man. I love hot dog.
You know, I oh my god, it was after our last episode, like, I was talking to Dean about the jokes we were making about how hot dog should win his Cylon. He was like, "What? No, I hate hot dog." And I was like, "Wow, wow." He was very, like, schneh about it.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
I don't
"Okay."
know why, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people felt like that about his character. And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I liked hot dog. Like he was fine.
I
He was
think
just a
I think
normal
some of
guy."
it was nepotism issues because he was Ever James almost his son.
Yeah, but he didn't take any major leads in this show. I mean, he's literally a background
Yeah,
character.
he took a speaking background part maybe from some other person who could have had that speaking background part, but I also like, I'm not saying this dude's a great actor, but I don't think anybody else could have played Hot Dog other than Hot Dog. I don't
Other
even know
than
his
hot
real
dog.
name. He's just Hot Dog. Anyway.
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, it's
Anyway.
fucking hot dog. And anyways, look, to no fault of the production company, if old Eddie James almost is asking you, "Hey, I'd like my son to come on this show." I mean, you're gonna tell him no? You're gonna tell him no? I'm not.
Fuck
Sure, you want
no.
your son? We'll put your dog, your cat, whatever, man. You know,
Oh
like
my god, wait, was his cat in the show? Maybe James was his dog. Maybe, the creepy lawyer's cat was his cat. Who
if it
knows?
was his cat, exactly.
Okay,
Oh
okay.
man.
All right. Moving on.
Moving on now.
Next up. Not surprisingly, another top moment we wanted to highlight is the fact that the rebellious Cylons not only realized that they had to give up their ability to regenerate in order to make more meaningful decisions, but that they actually followed through with this realization by destroying the resurrection ship in the episode called The Hub. I don't really have a ton to say about this other than yeah, it happened. It's less of a wow, this was a great scene in terms of the destruction of it. We've seen these things happen before.
Yeah.
All of this has happened before, and all of it will happen
Things that
again.
happen again. Exactly.
Um, but more the idea that they realized that as long as they could regenerate, they wouldn't appreciate the decisions they were making, right? Like
Mhm.
if you could if you could come back to life, no matter what you did or what happened
Mhm.
to you, you would live an entirely different life than you do knowing that you are a mortal being who is,
Mhm.
sorry, knowing that you are a mortal being who is going to die eventually and could die
Mhm.
literally at any time.
Yep.
Um, so I it's more about their realization, I think, that this needs to happen
Mhm.
than and it is sad also in a way because of course you see especially Hilo when they're leaving the ship and there's all those I don't know if you call them like dead, I guess, but like bodies that are never going to regenerate, whatever.
Mhm.
It is sad in a way, but it's also, yeah, the Cylons are never going to be able to be at peace with the humans, I think, as long as they can just come
Even the
back.
playing field, yeah.
Yeah.
It Look, I got a little bit of a rant about the silence because this was something that was driving me nuts in these episodes, that they kept saying, "Oh, well, in essence, like we have feelings too, and and we were hurt by blah 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 and all this stuff." And I was like, "Let me get this straight for a minute. So we were doing nothing on our colonies, and then you decided to show up, you infiltrated it, and then you just nuked everything, chased us away, and my gosh, where was your wonderful sense of ideology when we were all in prison camps and concentration camps getting killed and you were massacring people by the dozens, by the baker's dozens?" Okay. And all of a sudden, we have to have, oh, wait a minute, they're just like us. Like, hold on. It's like, hold up a second. That did not happen that long ago. Okay. Like maybe if it was something that was decades ago and like, okay, we can put this to rest. But I'm like, no, 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 no. You are part of the same generation of Cylons who literally pulled Colonel Ty's eye out, okay, or had the death list, and literally, as much as I want to hate Boltar, you put a gun to his head just so he can sign a piece of paper. For what? Why did you even bother? You should have just killed everybody while you were at it. Like you're trying to justify all these terrible, horrific actions that you're doing, and like, look, what did the like colonials do? Okay, so they went into Cylon space at one point when they had that guy, I can remember his name, and they had that backstory. Okay, and then you decided to come back and just go full nuclear and just kill everybody, and now we're supposed to feel sympathetic towards you? I'm like, I'm sorry. I saw what happened in those prison camps. Like don't give me that crap, like even with like who's the guy, Leoben, right? Like
Yeah.
you literally locked up Kara Thrace, and you were just doing like, I don't know, gaslighting her and doing whatever, to try to get her to like feel something. Like, can we not forget the fact that this was probably only a few months ago, maybe a year ago at this point, and all of
I
a
think
sudden it's
Kara
like
was dead for 6 months, dead, whatever,
dead,
for 6
dead.
months.
Hmm.
And I don't know how long it was between her death and them leaving New Caprica, but let's say it's been
Yeah,
like a year, whatever.
whatever.
It's still not been long enough.
Still
You
fresh.
know how long it takes over, or you know how long it takes to not get over, but to come to terms with and maybe like not move beyond, but kind of put it behind you a little bit. Maybe it depends on the
Hmm.
person. If you've been abused like that, it takes therapy. It likely takes medication, which is totally fine. Um, neither of which Starbuck has had. BT
Neither of
dubs.
which that they probably
And
have in the fleet to begin with.
it takes fucking time,
Yeah.
even with therapy and medication. The amount of time it takes to get over something like that is also a lot.
Hmm.
Like if you go through something like that and you think you're over it, like in a year or 2 or 3 or even 5,
Hmm.
especially without therapy or medication, I'd be side-eyeing and questioning you real hard.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And I just hated that because I felt like in these past few episodes, they were trying to play this like sympathy card. And I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. Like, no, no, now you make me want to find Earth together so then we can just round you up and then just get rid of you guys. It's like a retribution kind of like that type
yeah.
of thing, where I'm like, I'm sorry that those things didn't happen that long ago for us to just be like, you know what, you're right. You have feelings too, and we need to consider your feelings. Can you help us bury the 5,000 people who you killed on fucking New Caprica, and we can do it together and hold hands and sing Kumbaya and all this stuff, you know? Like, nah.
Listen, I am all for the idea of people evolving, of people,
I
and by
believe that
people, I'm including
100%.
Cylons in this too. People
100%.
evolving, people changing. Um, I every day hope that people who voted for Trump will see the light, you
Mhm.
know? Every fucking day. I hope that there will be, one person. But that doesn't mean like just because you understand that you made a mistake, a huge mistake, a bad mistake that's hurt a ton of
Mhm.
people, it doesn't mean you're automatically forgiven, but you should be allowed to, redeem yourself.
I
Um
agree with that.
and I mean, listen, I've fucked up. Sure, like I'm only fucking human. I fucked up a lot, and I think that any person who is, you know, sorry for what they did, who is accountable, who will like make themselves accountable for what they did that was wrong, um, like everybody should be allowed to change. That's not to say that the person or people that they've harmed have, have to forgive them, have to like
Mhm.
accept them back into their life as a friend or whatever, whatever. But at the same time, like in this sense, I Leoben is the one that has always like rubbed me the wrong way in this situation. The rest of the Cylons, it's like I understand where you're coming from, but I feel like there's a lot more leeway with the others, except for maybe Cavill and
Yeah.
maybe Deanna, who at this point
Yeah.
hasn't even come back yet.
Mhm.
But yeah, like the stuff with like Leoben where he's like with Starbuck and he's like got his hand around her waist and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
make it stop. I hate it. Um,
Look, and you can't blame like, and that's the thing too, is that they were like so willing to like make peace. Like, do you remember when they came in New Caprica? They were like, "Hey, we want to live in harmony with you," and they came
well,
with all their Centurions and all their guns and all this fucking stuff. And it's like, look, dude.
But that's the problem. At that point, they still had resurrection ships. They still like, yes, some of them were absolutely about peace, but the Cavils absolutely weren't. Um and and I don't think the Deannas were either. The Deannas just want what they want. Cavils, I don't
Mhm.
know what the fuck, whatever.
I have no idea.
Old white dude complex. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um but in this case, it's like they really are trying to make, I don't want to say make good necessarily, but I by them agreeing that the resurrection ship should be destroyed, that is a very huge step in them saying we are changing. Not only do we want to change, but we are changing.
But how would they
And
know for a fact that that is the only resurrection ship like that?
how would the fleet know, or how would the
Yes. How would the
Cylons?
fleet know?
Oh, I
How
mean,
would
I
the
guess
fleet
the
know?
fleet wouldn't.
They wouldn't, and that's one of the reasons that I personally just wouldn't have trusted them. I'd have been like, "Nah." It's like, "Look, you wanna find because look, if they have resurrection ships that we don't know about and they're offering this one to say, 'Oh, look, we're gonna,' like, that's the way I'm gonna think because you've done nothing to prove to me otherwise, right? Anytime you guys have come across trying to make peace or trying to say, 'Oh, I wanna help you,' and all this stuff, always something comes bad from it. So now here you go again, right? It's freaking Lucy holding the football. Come on, you want to kick the football, Charlie Brown? Let's do
Mm.
this, right? And then what happens? Boom, So I don't know. I mean, I get it. And believe me, I am a man of peace. I would want peace, right? And I do believe in redemption. I'm really big into redemption. However, this shit just happened like a little while ago, like I don't know if it's like if you want peace and you need to just go away, just go somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys aren't as impervious to radiation as we are. You can have that earth and
But
then
the
we'll go
problem
find
is
another
they
one.
have to be together to find Earth. So, and like
Ugh,
honestly, that kind of goes into our last our last
yeah.
top 5 moment. But yeah, let's be real. Like that's the thing. They can't. They realize right about as they're like destroying the resurrection ship, or like right after that, like no matter what, they need to do it together. Like this person has this puzzle piece, this person has this puzzle piece, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's true.
Earth. They have to find Earth. Earth?
They have to
Earth?
find Earth. Earth.
For those who are listening to this the podcast, I'm putting quotes up and I'm like, Earth, Earth, Earth. Like, I don't know, because what happens next is
Yes. Yep. So, and finally, season 4, mid-season finale, Revelations. They finally get there. The Admiral does this great speech on there. They show the planet with all the ships approaching it. And they have this one,
fucking gorgeous. Yeah.
Gorgeous, pretty music going on. And you're like, oh my God, it's the end of the journey. Even when I watched this for the first time, I said, oh, cool. They're probably going to do the last season with how they deal with life on Earth together. That's going to be really interesting. But let's face facts, dude. In classic Planet of the Apes fashion, they get down there and I saw the sand, and I could hear the Geiger counter.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you did it. You killed us. Like, no.
I also just watched Chernobyl. I'd never watched Chernobyl on HBO before, so I just watched it. So like I heard that Geiger counter and I was like, I had honestly forgotten. I was like, wait a minute, they already got to Earth. I'd forgotten that this whole I think my mind is like blacked out. Like this is like a little bit like traumatic for me that they get there and then yet like psych.
Psych, but it was so well done, because they got there and I was like, wow, this is such a but like with anything in Battlestar Galactica, no good day goes unpunished, right?
No good day goes unpunished.
Exactly. So here you got, they get down there, they show the sand, and as soon as I see him picking up the sand, I was like, and I remember I was watching it with a few friends. I was like, dude, is that a Geiger counter? Can you hear that? Because it was before they showed it. It's like, can you hear that? And I was like, no. And then I was like, this is fucking terrible. I love this show so much. This is so good. And it was a great, it was a perfect cliffhanger, because now it's like, where the fuck do they go now?
Yeah.
They just went through this entire shit to get here. They made friends with their, their frenemies over here, and now it's like, okay, here we go, guys. We made it home and we're going to hold hands together while we take our radiation meds at the same time, Oh
my God, frenemies. Yeah, I had totally forgotten. And I'll be honest, like I know what happens in the end, but like I kind of like have, I think, blacked out my memory, like all the in between of this episode and like the end of the series. So yeah, it's this huge triumphant, the speech, Adama's speech was great. That also that shot where they're showing them all approaching Earth. It's just one of those
Wonderful.
like in BSG, they have this happen quite a few times, right? Where they have shots like that. But this is one of those, like top 5 for sure, probably top 3, despite what happens next. But yeah, this whole like, yeah, we're here, we're at Earth, yay, excited, frenemies unite, and psych.
No.
Psych.
And there they stood, enemies and friends, both shocked in disbelief, like, wow. Can't believe these fuckers destroyed this place too. Like,
well, I mean, and also like nobody knows who actually did it
no
at this point, so
yeah, that is true.
What a mid-season finale too. Like I can't.
But it was great. No, it was great because it's like, every other cliffhanger that they kind of had is left in the middle of some type of, like, like with the Pegasus, right? It was both Viper fleets approaching each other, and then it was like, boom, to be continued. Like, but in this one, it sucked because it was like, because okay, something's going to happen in that other one. They're either going to fight each other or something's going to happen. But in this one, you're like, okay, now what? Exactly. Like I can see Hot Dog coming off his ship right now and just being like, huh.
This is why, I'm going to cut this out of the podcast, but this is why I wore this shirt tonight.
Yeah. Yep, this is fine. This is fine.
This is fine. This is
It's
totally a
fine.
dumpster, a
That
fine
that
dumpster fire.
that is hot dog right there. That would be his that would be his reaction. I am now going to make that graphic and I'm gonna
Oh
put
my
hot
god,
dog
please
in
do.
there.
It's fine, guys.
It's fine, guys. It's fine.
But instead of coffee, he'll be holding the last tube of toothpaste.
Exactly. This is fine. This is fine.
Sorry for anybody who's watching this who has never watched any of our episodes before. If you want more intel into our hot dog nonsense,
Yes.
please watch the episode 9 that we did on Battlestar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else to say, like, feelings wise about this particular situation. But there was something that I was gonna put it in the insights, the Dean sites actually, but then I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna put it here because it's like literally specifically about the scene. And it's not really an insight per se because it's about a production snafu.
Mhm.
Basically, they built out the set for the ruins of Earth on a beach south of Vancouver, about like 5 days before they were supposed to start shooting these scenes or whatever. But a storm blew through and ruined the set about
Nice.
2 days before they had to, before they were supposed to start filming. So they basically had to reconstruct the whole thing.
Oh,
They actually didn't quite finish. Not that you can tell that it's only like 90% of the ruins they'd originally planned for and built. But I guess it turned out it ended up turning an already really expensive set into a like way more expensive set.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought that was a really like, ooh, it's an interesting like thing to talk about or
Yeah.
to mention, but also, oof, sorry guys.
Yeah. So
Did they not check the weather? Like I just
all I can imagine
I
now,
know weather is unpredictable, but not so much in the Pacific Northwest,
not so
honestly.
much up there, exactly. And I can imagine that, like, the scene when they're all looking around at the ruins and stuff like that. That's probably the same faces that the production company made when they went back. It's like-
Like,
Poor-
oh
yeah.
shit. Now we got 2 days less maybe to rebuild.
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Poor guys.
Okay. So I think it's time to talk about some insights we've gleaned from being longtime fans. As a reminder, while we're covering Battlestar Galactica specifically, I'm going to refer to any Easter eggs or bloopers that I mention as Dean sites because my partner Dean knows far more about the series than I ever could and constantly points things out to me. So I long ago lost track of what I knew before I knew him. And we actually only have 2 Dean sites for these episodes.
Mm.
So
It's funny because I feel like even me with a lot of my talking points, there wasn't like a lot. Like this was like a weird segment. I feel like it's one of the best segments,
it's
but
a
it's like,
weird section of
but it's a
episodes, honestly.
weird section, where it's like, I don't know, like I don't know. Oh wait, am I first here? Okay. So there's an interview with Jamie Bomber where he talks about how the actors who played the
I'm
final
sorry,
four
Jamie
Bomber,
Bamber.
Bamber. I don't know. He's Apollo, man. He's Apollo, dude. I saw him at DragonCon. Was like, "Sup, Apollo?" Like.
I was like, wait, did I like misspell that? Jamie Bomber.
Bamber,
I like that though.
Bamber, Bomber. Whatever, man. I didn't know he was British until the show ended, and then I saw him, and I was like,
Oh,
"What? You
me
lied to
either.
me." Yeah. He was a cool guy, though. Okay, so there's an interview with Jamie Bamber where he talks where he talks about how the actors who played the final four Cylons were split down the middle regarding how they felt about their characters being Cylons. Michael Hogan as Ty and Aaron Douglas as Tyrell, as in the more established characters, didn't like it at first, while Michael Trucco as Anders and Rekha Sharma as Tori were excited to have bigger roles to play.
I mean, understandable.
I get it. I think the one that like when they first did it, like I get the awe factor that they were going for there. I really
Mhm.
didn't like that it was the Colonel though. honestly. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know though. I
Uh,
don't know because then it kind of gives his life more purpose because his life really didn't have a purpose. You know, he was kind of a drunkard. He was just like
well, and it also
whatever.
gives us that insanely fucking harsh and moving, and I just the scene, like, where he tells Adama, and then after that, Adama, like, breaks down. I'm getting chills just thinking about it now, like, literal chills.
Dude, that was heartbreaking to watch.
Uh,
Fucking heartbreaking.
and I totally understand why, like, the established characters would be like, "But why? We don't want this." Apparently they warmed to it, but also, yeah, like, Michael Trucco and Rekha Sharma, especially Tori, like, at least this sounds weird, but, like, at least Trucco was, like, married to Starbucks, so I think he got
Mhm.
a lot more, and there was the whole, like, Caprica thing where he was, like, the
Mhm.
resistance leader and everything. Tori is, and I don't mean this to sound, uh, like I'm downplaying her role or anything, but she was,
Mhm.
quote, unquote, "just the president's,"
Yeah.
first assistant or whatever the fuck they called her. Um, so it makes a lot of sense for them, especially her, to be excited about the fact that,
And that's
"Oh, well, now we also get this extra oomph to our character."
yeah. And that's probably why they made her more like kind of bad, I guess, because
I have
she
thoughts
didn't
on that in a
really
minute.
because she didn't really have anything going for her. It was just like, look, and in the end, dude, look, like I've always said about Anders, like he's a guy that in real life I would have been like close friends with, right? Like he's one of those guys. Like he's the guy that I go to drink with every Friday. Like, like he's just one of those guys. I love him. However, as a
Oh, he's a
Cylon man,
lovely fucking dude,
yeah,
honestly. He puts up
fucking
with
lovely.
Starbucks shit way more than he should, and I
Oh
say
yeah,
that as a Starbucks stan, okay?
yeah, yeah. No, man, look, I love Anders. Like personally, he's great. He's fantastic. I just think it just should have been someone else, And I don't know. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head, but it should have been a hot dog. It should have been hot dog. Is what I'm saying. Because then it's just like, I mean, if we're just gonna put these guys there that are just like with Tori, like okay, the chief, the colonel makes sense. It's explosive. But like Tori, like man, we didn't even really know you that much. So it's like, well, okay, I guess you're a Cylon. And then with like Anders, I was like, I don't know, man. That just seems weird, But if it was like like you might as well have just made hot dog. You know what? Just lie to everybody. There's not 12 or 13 models. There's actually 14. And this is the great big one. And his name is Hot Dog, you know?
Oh my god. Okay. So the only other Dean site we have is the original script, for 6 of 1 had Starbuck put in the brig with Caprica 6 because, so many people were thinking Starbuck was a Cylon,
Mhm.
and it also had them getting into a knockdown drag out fight. Thankfully, Ron Moore felt that the real reason Starbuck was put in with Caprica 6, like in the original script, was just to like set up this stupid fight between these two women and like put the kibosh on that. So, gotta say, like, snaps for Ron Moore.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously, like, snaps for Ron Moore a lot of the time, but I really, there was absolutely no fucking need for that to happen.
No.
The idea of like, oh, a lot of people think Starbuck is a Cylon now because she came back from the dead, 6 months later or whatever. So we're gonna put her in the brig with this 6 just to have them get into some nasty. No, don't
Mhm.
want it, and especially
Yeah.
because Starbuck fucked Gaius and Caprica 6 also did the thing. Yeah, this is just a lot of. There's a lot of like big like no, 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 no. This doesn't need to happen.
No.
Glad it didn't. Thank God.
Yeah, thank God.
It's not quite the same as the thing we talked about in our last episode, where there was supposed to be a thing where after Starbuck died, Anders and Apollo got in a fight, and they
Mhm.
decided not to do that. It's not quite the same, but please let's not have
Mm.
women just doing
Fighting each
these
other.
things
Yeah,
just to have a fucking fight between women. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
exactly.
All right, now into our personal insights.
Yeah, so I just want to say how awesome it was to see Nana Visitor show up in the episode Faith. She played Major Kira Nerys in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So it was really awesome to get to see her again, even though she was dying, which was terrible. But she's a fantastic actress and she's been
Mm.
around for a while. She's just, at least with me, that's how I got to know her, was on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So to get to see her, like, I didn't recognize her right away at first when I heard the sound of her voice. I was like, wait, I was like, oh shit, that's Kira. So it was really, really, really fucking awesome to like get to see her. And again, it's like kind of nodding back to like the Deep Space Nine stuff,
Well,
which
and
I
I
thought was
also
great.
think that those scenes were really necessary to humanize Rosalind
Hmm.
and like especially because the character I think was her name Emily maybe? I
Yeah,
can't
I
yeah.
think it was Emily. Yeah.
Um when Rosalind is like shut that off because it's like Baltar talking on the radio and the
Hmm.
character's like, no, fuck off. And she eventually apologizes for her like visceral reaction.
Hmm.
But I there was a lot there that really humanized Rosalind's character, but I don't want to make it all about Rosalind because the Emily character was if you've ever seen somebody dying from cancer, um I don't know. It's like I'm getting you can probably hear it in my voice. I'm getting choked up thinking about it now because
Hmm.
that ending, it's so hard, it's so dark, it's so painful,
Hmm.
and the fact that they spent I mean, I don't wanna say half an episode, but a good portion of an episode on
Hmm.
this, and I know it was a lot of it was to humanize Rosalind, but I I think that I think that they were also showing just, like, a deeper, I don't know, like, emotional and physical, fuck, I don't know. I'm emotional about this for reasons, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. I think they did a really good job with it. It's hard to fucking watch, and but that's how they're doing a good job,
Yep.
honestly.
Yep.
That it's hard to yeah, it's hard to fucking watch somebody die from cancer.
Yep. Yep.
It's hard to see somebody at the end, the just the whole thing where she gives Rosalind the kerchief and
Hmm.
is like, "Oh, so and so on the ship makes these, they're so beautiful." I don't know. I'm very emotional about this. I was emotional when I watched it too, and I didn't put anything in the notes about it because I was, like, trying not to I was trying not to be like,
Yeah,
"Ugh."
it was touching, and especially when she's in like that vision and they're on the boat, and
Mhm.
you see her on the other side of the lake now, and she's running towards her family and hugging them and everything, and it's just like, wow, that's yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was
It was fucking beautiful. It was fucking beautiful. All
it was beautiful. Yeah, it was
every
beautiful.
scene with them was beautiful. Even the
Hmm.
scene where Emily kind of, like, yells at Rosalind is like, "Don't turn that off," because this is the thing that's giving her peace, right?
Hmm.
Rosalind might not like Baltar, but what he's saying is helping this woman on her very difficult, I don't know, journey is a fucking bad word to call it. I don't know, but,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
anyway, okay. Might as well just stick with squicky stuff. I mean, that's not squicky. That's just fucking sad. Now we're gonna move on to squicky stuff. We'll get to less stuff in a minute, but I wanted to mention the absolute like squicky. Oh, this is way too real right now. Feeling I got when watching the episode "The Ties That Bind." uh, When watching the episode "The Ties That Bind" during the quorum meeting,
Hmm.
when Apollo brings up that executive order to the quorum, the one that establishes a tribunal system in which the judges are chosen by the president and only
Hmm.
answer to a special court of appeals that
Hmm.
also has judges chosen by the president, creating a justice system that, as he says, further and dangerously concentrates power into the hands of the executive.
Hmm.
Just going to take a pause right there, let that sink in.
Yep.
Okay. And then Rosalind claims that it's like a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's a
Is it now?
WIP. It's a
Yeah.
WIP in its early stages.
Yeah.
And it's about forming a better justice system than the one they currently have, which, to be fair, definitely needs fixing.
Yeah.
And she claims that she was going to bring this executive order up once it was complete, but it's not yet. And then she's like, "Can we'll talk about it in the next meeting?" And everybody's like, "No, what? No." And Apollo's kind of like smirking about it. Um, I just I don't know that there's all that much to say about this other than mm,
Mm,
mm.
mm.
Just keep these things in mind currently, and like
Yep.
if somebody's watching this or listening to this 10 years from now, hopefully you'll be like, "Huh, what?" Because
Well,
you haven't studied 10 years ago history or something. But
yeah, exactly.
uh I mean, to be fair, I will say that I don't think Rosalind was trying to be any sort of dictator or whatever. I don't believe that of her. I never believed that of her, nor did I believe that of Adama in the early episodes where he was
Mm-hmm.
like early seasons where he was the one that was kind of throwing his power around. But the difference is these were people that actually had the fate of humanity and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot in their like best, and like they had these in their best interests. So uh, whatever the whole shtick was that
Mm-hmm.
about this executive order, because I don't remember if it even comes up again. I'm not going to say it doesn't, because we'll
Yeah, we
get
can't say
into
that.
we'll get into
Mhm.
why we can't say that in a second. But I'm not going to say it never comes up again. But at this point in time, yeah, there's feelings there. There's watching this at this particular time in late February, early March of 2025,
Mm-hmm.
the year of our Lord 2025, whatever the fuck you
Look,
yeah.
man, it's like I understand where they're coming from by trying to do some things,
Mhm.
but it's really bad optics, like it's just really bad because you have the same admiral, the same president who's been around, and now they're obviously like each other, and people can see that. And then you have his son who is in charge of the Pegasus, and then he's in charge of like this. And guess what? Now, where he's at now, he just became president. It's like this, none of this looks good,
Well, but
you
he
know?
was the one who was calling out the issues with the power imbalances in the judicial, like in this new executive order. So
I
I
agree
think
with that.
that
I
I
agree with that, but I'm just saying, if I would have been on the other side of that coin and that would have happened, I'd have been like, oh, here we go. Another Adama who's in power, Now, if I knew him, like on the show, like fictionally, I was like, oh, okay, no, he's a good guy. Of course, he should be the one to lead. But if I didn't, if I was just one of the pores on the freaking, coal ship or whatever I was doing, I was like, oh, here we go, man. We got another Adama's president now, and it's just like it's the same three
oops.
people all the time.
I mean, have you looked at our presidential history?
Well, yeah, but this is fiction. But yes, you're right.
I say that with all of the like bile rising from my stomach to my esophagus into my throat, and I'm trying not to throw up
Mhm.
because like the current president actually isn't part of that, but also he's worse somehow than
Yeah.
everyone that came before. You cannot tell me that he's not worse than every fucking person who came before. Anyway, let's get on to your next insight, Manny. Please,
Yeah,
let's move on.
creepy lawyer comes back. So
We said he wasn't going to.
that he
Well, we
wasn't going
didn't.
to.
Well, I think we were very clear about like, no, we don't think he's going to.
Well, because they gave him such a good ending, right? They did the whole
Yeah.
like they did the whole Kaiser Soze ending, like, well, why is he walking with a cane? And then all of a sudden he just puts it down and he's just like, yep, I'm just a normal person like everybody else. And now it's sitting there like, well, was the guy even a fucking lawyer? Did he like flip burgers on New Caprica and he's just pretending to be a lawyer? Now I'm pretty sure no one asked for his like certification, but um I didn't think he would come back, but then when I think about it, I was like, no, wait a minute, because he's in like the last episode or whatever. But I was like, why did they give him such a good ending? Like they gave him such a good like closure in that last one. And then in this one, it was like weird. He's got the cat, but the cat's really been dead. He's the only person
Mm.
seeing the cat or whatever. Like,
Yeah. I
with-
actually didn't look, but I hope that this episode is on the website Does the Dog Die?
oh God. Yeah.
Because even though that's the way, like, even though it's Does the Dog Die, it covers all animals.
Hmm.
I forgot that his cat was dead, and that was very fucking depressing.
Hmm.
But yeah, um, but he's even more nuts in this episode
He's more crazy. But
or in
I
that
think,
episode, whatever.
I mean, look, but hats off to the actor. I love
Yeah.
seeing him.
Oh,
I
Mark Sheppard
love
is great. Yeah.
Mark Sheppard is fantastic. Anything he shows up in, like I know it's gonna be good. And if the show is crap, I know it's gonna be good because of him. Like he's fantastic.
I
Like I
want to
love.
say I moderated a panel for
Oh,
him.
really?
Yeah,
Nice.
at MegaCon in like 2016 or 2017.
Nice.
My God,
Nice.
it could have been as early as 2015. It was anywhere from 8 to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Really, really nice guy. Really, really fucking great with, like the questions from the audience and everything.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, he was great. It was just so fucking weird that we like after his last appearance, we're like, does he ever come back again? No, we don't think so.
No. I mean, yeah,
Listen,
because
we
just
didn't we didn't put a total like, no, he absolutely doesn't. It was no, we don't think so. But it was very funny when he came back and I was like, Manny,
Like,
Manny, we
yeah,
were wrong.
we were wrong.
No.
He's back. He's back.
And his
Look,
cat died.
yeah, look, but in our defense, we haven't watched the show in many, many, many of years, and we're watching them up into the run that when we do the podcast. Like we're not ahead of the game here. So it's like
No, yeah.
that's why we say things now that we're like, maybe they won't, because maybe we do know, but chances are we probably don't know. So,
Well, particularly for me for the last 2 seasons because I started rewatching these in 2018 and then I got a roommate who didn't want who didn't want to watch them on like our main TV. So I actually watched like seasons. I definitely watched the mini series in seasons 1 and 2 and I don't remember if I watched season 3, but I definitely did not watch season 4. So the first like full rewatch I did was like 10 years ago, almost.
wow.
Almost 9.5, whatever. But yeah, I will say this though, his cat dies. His cat was dead, and that
Was
was
that?
why he was like off his rocker a little bit. And I totally get that, honestly.
Hmm.
I completely understand that. Yep. And then Jake the dog appears,
Yep.
which is amazing. I love that. I love that. I love that Apollo is like, here's a dog.
Here's a dog.
And what's his name? What the fuck is his name? I don't know why, but I know this is a football player, but I keep thinking of him as like Tony Romo because his name is Romo Lampkin. For some reason, I keep thinking of him as Tony Romo.
Wow. No.
Anyway, Romo Lampkin, he's like, the only thing I hate more than cats is dogs. And
Yep.
Apollo's like, well, Jake needs a home. Jake is a member of the resistance. You better fucking give this dog. And Jake is
Yep.
he's a border collie, and I love that.
He's a good boy.
Anyway, okay. Oh, Tori. Like, fine. As we've already talked about a little bit, I get her killing Callie because in that sense, she's protecting not just herself, but also the other final Cylons who are stuck on Galactica. And Tori also saves Nikki, who, like, even if it was for selfish reasons, Jesus Christ, even if it was for selfish reasons, a lot of words there. He is only the second ever Cylon human baby. At least she saves a baby. So, Eh.
I mean, look, thank you for doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But also, when she finally gets to reveal that she's one of the final 5, why is she such a bitch to Rosalind, who has pretty much only ever been nice to her? Like, fuck
Yep.
off, honestly.
Yep.
Like, I and also, like, I there are a good number of people of color in this show, but it is really and I like that they included one of them in the final 5.
Yeah.
That's good, right?
Mhm.
That's great, particularly for fucking early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but then you make the only woman that we know of at this time. Okay, not gonna get into the final 5
Mhm.
person.
Yep.
The only like woman who is a member of the final 5 Cylons that we know of at this time, and also a woman of color, turns into a huge see you next Tuesday.
Yep. Yep.
Like setting aside that she spaces Callie, okay?
Mhm.
Let's say wasn't thinking straight, did that to protect herself and her fellow final 4, like the other 3, whatever, okay?
Mhm.
Pretend that didn't happen. The first thing she does when she is able to reveal herself for what she is to just smack down on Rosalind, who is
Mhm. Yep.
never I think the only time Rosalind ever got after her in any sort of like perceivably negative manner
Mhm.
was at the end of season 3 when Tori was like just really out of sorts
Mhm.
about the whole music thing, like the whole thing that all of them were going through, right? Which
Mhm.
Rosalind, of course, had no idea what was happening. This is a bad, this was bad. It makes me dislike Tori, and I hate that because it yeah, yeah. I don't know. I
Yeah,
just
I don't know.
this was a bad fucking decision on their part. It shouldn't have been her that went full fucking anti-human. It shouldn't have been her. It shouldn't have been. I don't think. Anyway.
No, no. But like I said, they had to make she needed something. She couldn't just be, you know, the president's assistant, right? Not not even that I can really say that because I mean, there was Anders and he was in one of the Vipers at one point, so he did learn how to fly. He did play football or whatever football version is in Caprica.
Triangle ball or something.
Triangle
Pyramid,
ball,
pyramid, pyramid.
pyramid. Yeah. I was like, triangles aren't
Triangle ball.
balls.
No.
You
Pyramid. The game
know,
was called Pyramid.
it's pyramid, yes. And he shot some guns and stuff. And he had a thing with he got married to Gareth Race. Okay. But with Tori, man, they just brought her in way too late at the game. What would have been great was if they would have just kept Billy on the entire time and then made it Billy. You know, I think it would have made it more poignant, like better, you know, because it's like, okay, great. Billy's been there the whole time, right? We all love Billy. And
Yeah,
no.
but even then it wouldn't have made sense because here's the thing, like Rosalind, regardless of like we all know that at times she goes on power trips and she's not always right. Nobody's always right, okay?
Mm-mm.
Uh, but she doesn't abuse people, right? She doesn't. Like she doesn't she never abused the people who were helping her. She never did it to Billy, she
Mhm.
never did it to Tori. The only time she
Yeah.
ever got after Tori was when Tori was like a mess. And even that was just like, "Hey, get your head in the game." And listen, like maybe she should have been more understanding, okay? But also, this is early 2000s, okay? That we cannot put our feelings on how our bosses should act with us now
Mhm.
based like 20 years ago almost.
Yep.
Because it was a different world than in real life
Yeah.
too. So I just I just really don't like that they made Tori the one woman who we know of as being a Final Five, and
Mhm.
also the one person of color, right? Because I mean, obviously Ty isn't and Andres isn't, and I'm pretty
Mhm.
sure Eric Douglas isn't. I could be wrong about that. But like the one like obvious person of color who is also a fucking woman turns into the bad guy. And it also does not help that it just I don't like the decisions that were made there.
Yeah.
Period at all. Nothing is ever going to change my mind about that. And her like the thing with that happened with Callie aside, like when she like goes on that power trip with
Mhm.
Rosalind, it's like why this person, like, yes, you were her employee, but she always treated you with respect. She
Yeah.
she never ordered you around or like I mean, I don't know. I'm as a white woman, I'm probably like the wrong person to be saying these things, but in terms of like how Rosalind treated her, but I also feel like it's fucking bad that the only person of color who and also still the only person of color who is part of the final 5 is the one who turns into the bad guy. I don't like that. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't. It's I don't like it. It's icky. It's icky and I hate it. And Tori deserved better, honestly. She deserved better writing.
Yeah, I think
I
they
think there
just
were other things she could have done.
yeah, I think they could have made her into a much more dynamic character than they did, especially the fact that since she really didn't have anything like past tense like the way the rest of them did. I think they should have
Mm,
focused more on kind of developing like her character a bit, and like even if she was going to be the bad one, maybe if they would just have just put some backstory to it and that would have made it understandable, then I think that would have been completely fine. But to just kind of bring her out of the woodworks as just okay, well now she's the bad one. It's like,
yeah.
you know. But again, is and even for mid 2000 writing, that's definitely still out there, so
I feel
uh,
like they thought they were giving her agency, but they did it in a bad way.
that's what it was. They were like, oh, we wanted to do a strong female character, and it's like, well,
Yeah, but again, strong female characters don't always need to be, you know, they don't always need to be that, right? You can be a
no,
strong female character, and I know you know this. I know you know this, but you
yeah,
can be a strong female character and still not be. Uh, I'm gonna just fight everybody who has ever, I don't know, been my boss.
it's really weird. Like I think what it comes down to is that Hollywood or whatever, and I'm gonna say it even so much as to now that they have no idea how to write a strong female character. They just don't. I feel like they had some really good nuggets, right? Like the 80s, they did a really good job with a few of them. Um, even look, watch Star Trek Deep Space Nine, right? Star Trek Deep Space Nine, any woman who is in command there or something like that is a strong woman that like you hear them talk. Like, look, we had Nana Visitor on this episode, right? You spend any time watching her character progression nine, and she is literally one of the most powerful female characters ever written on the fucking planet, as far as I'm concerned. She is one of the best fucking writing ever when it comes to character development and strong female character. Fantastic. You know, and this was 1993. You know, why were they able to pull that off in 1993? And then now here we are 20 years later, and even up into like today. Like, I'm sorry, I don't need the character to look into the camera and be like, oh, because I'm a strong female character. Like, they don't have to do that. Just write them good. If you write them good, then it's fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, so I have no idea. I don't know what happened to the writing thing there, but I'm right there with you because they do associate that. They kind of put those two together, right? Oh, if it's a strong female character, then oh, we got to give her all the tropes. Like, she's got to be a bitch, and like, yeah, and look at her doing bad things. And it's like, okay, bad writing again.
Which Okay, let's cushion this a bit at the end here.
No, we're talking about
Because
this for 6 hours. We're not stopping.
uh I did find this really great quote from Grace Park, and I thought this I originally was like, this will be a timely share. And now, like, as we're going through this discussion, I'm like, oh my God, it's even more timely than I thought. And
Yes.
I will say, like, as a white woman, I am maybe not there is a lot here that I this isn't about me. Okay. This is about an Asian woman portraying uh, a character who is a Cylon in a human fleet, et cetera, et cetera. But I am just repeating what Grace Park said. Basically, she believed that Athena had made herself a part of the fleet, but that she also didn't want the character to get too comfortable. And she said she does seem integrated, but for her, it's always in the back of her head, her Cylon status, how other people might perceive her, and the dangers and threats because of that. So, though it's not necessarily been explored, I always kept that weighing on her. She's trying to be that model minority citizen, and she doesn't want to let anyone know her full power. Um, and I think that's a really uh, I think that's a good way to kind of wrap up the discussion of
Mm-hmm.
uh minority characters in this section of episodes anyway. Again, I can only repeat what this woman has said. I do not claim any ownership over these feelings because I wouldn't know as a white woman. But I thought that especially after the Tory situation, because Rekha Sharma is also an Asian woman, Middle Eastern woman. Actually, she's an Asian woman.
Mm-hmm.
Not Western Asian, Eastern Asian, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not whatevering that as there's like no difference. I'm just saying like
Mm-hmm.
there there is a difference there between where they are from, but I think that Grace Park understood Athena's otherness in a way that a white person couldn't have, that
Mm-hmm.
I certainly couldn't have. And I did really like the fact that she put that into her portrayal of this character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I don't know. The model minority citizen, it just makes me shudder because it's like no person should have to feel like they need to be a model citizen because they are a minority. Obviously, we know that is the way, especially right now, the world fucking works. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's wild, right? Because, I think that quote is like so perfect, because, yeah, like being like the model minority, right? Like that's something that they go through, right? And it's something that they get grief on both sides, right? Because it's like you can get it from one because you're a minority, but then maybe you're a minority and you're really successful, right? But then there's no praise there. It's like, no, wait a minute, you got to struggle like the rest of us, or like the rest of them. Or if not, you're just like a sellout. I don't know. I can go on a fucking 2-day rant about this, but it's like, I think that her quote that she had put here and the way she kind of laid this down made me kind of reflect on her character and see the way she played it. And I was like, you know what? That was a very well written, strong female character, right?
Yep.
Of,
Yeah.
of color, right? It was fantastic because this is what she's taking with it. You can clearly see it in her delivery. You can clearly see how she does it. That's what made it fucking great. It's that nuance, and this is like we live in a day and age now where that nuance is kind of lost, and a lot of this writing, it really is hot fucking garbage. Like it's really fucking terrible. When they try to do these kind of things, it comes off really stupid. And I hate it because it does a disservice to what the writing was back in the 90s at sometimes, and then even with this, even though there were some things like Tory, like, yeah, okay, that's bad, you know, they really did do Grace Park really awesome, you know, because you felt for her character, you know, and the way she delivered it was fucking great, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also just um, again, just the like, Grace Park is saying she's trying to be a model minority citizen as a Cylon,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that just speaks to the idea of, or from when and again, I'm I am not the person to be like saying this, but like, I mean, you're Cuban, you're Hispanic, you are a person of color, even though you're white passing, like the idea of having to be like this model citizen, because if you
Mm-hmm.
aren't, you are constantly under scrutiny, is
Yep.
just, I like, mm.
Yep.
I think what Grace Park said was as much about herself as a person, and I could be wrong, but I have to assume it was much as about herself as a person, as an actor, and as an actor, as it was about the character. So
Yep. Fantastic. 10 out of 10.
yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah, yeah. All right. Any last thoughts before we close out?
Oh man, we had a lot of words this time. I think we did pretty good.
We had so many words.
We had so many words, and but there was only like 3 mentions of hot dogs. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 hot dogs is what I'm going to give it. You know, because for House of the Dragon, we have to rate it on the train scale. So there's no trains in space. There's only hot dogs. So that we gotta rate it.
Gotta close it out a little bit.
Oh yeah.
All right. As we close out the episode, just want to thank you for joining us for our 10th Media That Made Us episode on the Memento Mori arc of Battlestar Galactica. We'll be back on Wednesday, March 26th, because Manny has to go on vacation again.
I wish.
So instead of 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks.
It's
But we'll
3
be
weeks.
back on Wednesday, March 26th to continue our to continue our discussions of BSG season 4. In the meantime, please do not forget to like, subscribe, or rate us 5 stars wherever you're watching or listening. And as always, please consider supporting us by backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.